In this session, we're going to look at three analogies to help understand the iterative incremental approach to delivering a product or service. We're going to look at the car analogy, also known as a skateboard analogy. We're going to look at the boat analogy, and then we're going to look at the Mona Lisa analogy. So let's get started. So with the car analogy, what we're looking at explaining is that rather than building something in a plan-driven approach where we will deliver a tire first and then we join some tires together, put on a chassis, and so forth. At any of those steps, we haven't actually delivered anything of value to the customer. In other words, they can't actually use anything in that approach. With the iterative incremental approach, if we give them a skateboard, at least it's not ideal, but at least they can move from A to B faster than they could if they were walking. And as you can see there, we move through the different iterations until we get to the desired outcome. It may well be that the bicycle or the motorbike is perfectly appropriate in this analogy to the customer and that they are happy with that. But the point is, there must always be something of value at the end of every iteration, and we should be focused on what it is that we can deliver right now. So the boat approach then looks something like this. Rather than go through the stages of finding the logs, cutting the logs, putting together some sort of infrastructure, and then ending up with a galleon. And by the way, what that guy is saying there is, this is glorious, but customers seem to want to go much faster. How often does that happen? We get to the end of a plan-driven approach to delivering something, and the customers aren't quite as happy as we would like them to be. With the iterative incremental approach then, with the blue guys here in this diagram, what we're doing is we're getting something on the water as fast as we can so that we provide some value. Users can get onto that raft and they can move across a body of water. Again, it's not ideal, but at least they have something that they can give us feedback on. So we can add a sail, we can make it more comfortable and so forth. Again, at some point along this route, they may say, do you know what? Actually, option number 3 is perfectly acceptable. We don't need to go any further. We don't need to spend any more time or money on adding more value because we've got exactly what we need. And then another way of looking at this, introduced to me by David Michel here, is the predictive or incremental approach compared to the adaptive, which is the iterative and incremental approach together. With both the predictive and the incremental, the idea is that we already know exactly what we're going to produce at the end, so it's just really about how we go about delivering that. With the agile approach, the adaptive approach, we are constantly going back to the users for feedback so that we make sure we're going in the right direction all the way. And again, it may be that at some point along the way, they decide that they've got enough of the value that they need. So just there, 3 quick ways to understand that iterative incremental approach. One was the car approach, one is the boat approach, and then the other one just looking there briefly at Mona Lisa.